our commitment is to the people and to ourselves.
Yes, to share our wisdom.
And yeah.
So Barry and I are going to talk about this week. Do you keep your word? Can you be trusted? I know it's really important to be able to trust the other person. We all want to be able to trust the other person. First, we have to become a trustworthy person and be able to keep our word, and what to do about it if we can't. So I think this could be a very important conversation this week.
Indeed. In fact, we could actually sign off now and be complete. Just see you next week.
Yeah, really, that was it. We're done.
Yeah, okay.
So since we are going to start, Barry and I'd like to welcome you to the newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
We were saying that we keep our word to each other and to all of you, that we show up every week prepared with hopefully very helpful, interesting information, and maybe give you a chance to go, I never thought about it that way first. And then, maybe I might decide to do something differently second.
That would be the ideal, yes. Although, to be transparent, I don't really plan much ahead because I know in the moment I'm going to be much more effective than trying to rehearse a script. So just to be transparent, I don't have an idea what we're going to talk about yet, except what I saw the title. So this is going to be, join me on the journey as I explore my mind.
Well, I meant that we are prepared to sit here, be ready, have all electronics that are in our control, because sometimes it feels out of our control. But yeah, people have asked me, and I will say out loud that Barry and I don't talk ahead of time. We know what this title is going to be this week because our producer sends it to it from the list that we've suggested. And then we are very spontaneous, which I think is part of the reason so many people listen to us, because we're so real. We keep our word to be real, right? That's one of the things we keep our word about.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I love about this, is that we don't have to have a plan ahead or to do it right. And it's interesting because I get invitations. I've had an invitation today from somebody who heard this on this podcast saying, would you be interested in other podcasts? Like, I love this one because it's so easy and free and comfortable. I'm not sure I want to do another one.
I've certainly been on some that were easy, not as easy as this, and then some that were so hard compared to this, and it made me even more appreciate this. So I think that could be part of the foundation about how a relationship of any sort, a professional relationship, a personal relationship, can turn into having more time of ease with it when you do keep your word, when you know your boundaries and your capabilities, sometimes moment to moment, and can you keep the word that you've now given? And if not, what are you going to say or do about it? Because then it becomes so much easy that you can count on the other person. You can trust what they say. That's the truth. And my dad used to say, and you could take it to the bank. I remember that saying from when I was a kid.
I remember that phrase too from mine. The thing also is, so many people want to find a partner who's trustworthy. And at the same time, they may not have done the work to be trustworthy themselves. So this whole projection thing happens. And the reality is that you won't feel trustworthy of anybody else if you don't trust yourself first. It starts within every single time. We talk about this in the show many times, different things. But trustworthiness, it can only work if you're trusting yourself first, because then you can have contrast with those people who don't trust themselves outside of you.
So I have talked about this a few times, and I certainly was raised this way as a female, that we were taught, don't make waves, don't upset the tall people, play nice, go out of your way to be nice to people. You can ask, but ask in a really indirect way. Don't be confrontational. My sister did not get that message, but I certainly did. Yeah, my parents were I have a brother in between us, and we talk about how even when we have the same parents, what a different family we grew up in. And besides, we're different personalities that were born. But I 100% got the message of be sensitive. Not so much cautious. I wanted to use that word, but that wasn't it. Be sensitive to how the other person might receive it. And if you really want to get your way, then ask really nicely and don't ask too much. So one of the hardest parts that I had to learn, and I really didn't get really good at it. I started in my 30s when I got divorced, but got really better, much better at it in my 40s, and now teach women what the heck do you want? And you can really, most of the time, ask for it very nicely and often will get what you want, but don't beat around the bush, especially when you're talking to a man. You need to be really direct, very direct, to the point, like Twitter, short sentences that get to the point. And that's the hard thing, that we don't mean to be lying. We don't mean to not be telling the truth, but often it is perceived that way and comes across that way. And because we haven't used all the right words, you do what you think is the best, or it really is what we said, but it isn't exactly what we meant. But another woman would have known all the innuendos. And it teaches you that we aren't being truthful and we're not keeping our word and we can't be trusted, even though if you wanted to help us and make us happy, whatever you're going to do is going to blow up in your face. And I've seen that so often. And I did that in my first marriage, and it's really sad. I love watching your whole face. It just kept changing with all the boom, ba boom, ba boom, because you've had it happen. Oh, yeah. You've had it happen.
Yeah, I mean, because we said it's touching on such an important thing, which is the fact that, first of all, women and men speak different languages. So in terms of communication, I mean, you know, John Gray talks about Mars and Venus. It really is true that the way that women and men communicate doesn't match. So to ask questions or to communicate, we men like to keep things straightforward, simple. That's the way it is. You know, we can get into complex conversations, but a normal thing is like, you know, give me to it straight, clear questions and give a clear answer. Whereas for women, it tends to be more about describing how to get to that question rather than the actual question itself, which is entertaining and always effective for communication. So it's almost like, you know, give me yes or no. It's like, well, actually, no, it's a flexible thing. It's like, no, that doesn't help. So no, I was laughing because I experienced that myself. But the thing about it is that when we understand that both genders are different for men and women, neither one is better or worse, it's just different. And so, and the polarity happens that way too, then trust can be built on the understanding of the difference, because it's like, you don't want the other person to be just like you to be trustworthy, because you're going to be different if you're in a masculine feminine polarity relationship, which can be basically straight or gay, by the way. It's not saying it's only straight relationships. So trustworthiness is not based on the likeness. It's actually based on the differences in this context. But it's about, really, can you trust who that person is and what they're going to do? Because if they always do the contradictory thing, you can trust that, as weird as it sounds. So trustworthiness is not always they're going to be agreeing with you. It's like you can counsel them to maybe disagree with you. And if that's something they always do and you're okay with that, you can trust that, and therefore they're trustworthy, you know?
Yeah, I've talked about my friend Cheryl, who's not alive anymore, that I knew she was an hour late every time we went anywhere. So I just planned on it, and I never got upset because I knew this was what was going on. My challenge is when somebody says, I'm going to be there, and they're not.
Right.
And they don't say anything, and they don't let you know ahead of time, because I plan. I am so punctual generally most of the time that I want to be there so that you don't wait, and I want to not have to wait. And so if you're going to be even, 10 or 15 minutes late, just let me know. But, oh, I thought you'd be met. Well, it's more upsetting to have you show up late and not say anything, because it really feels dishonoring. It feels dishonoring when you don't tell the truth, even when plans change. And I love that you say you can count on somebody to disagree with you, because if you know it ahead of time and it's consistent, I would feel they're a very trustworthy person, because I always know they're going to do this thing. That would be so fun.
It is counter, because the thing is, predictability can be trustworthy, but it can also be unpredictability. If it's consistent, is trustworthy. So it's almost consistency is what trustworthy. I'll speak something about keeping your word, because that's something that came up, because I shared this before, I think the show before, but if you haven't heard the previous episodes, and there's plenty of listeners, by the way, I'll bring it up here. I was in a seminar training back in 87, 88, somewhere around there. And it was a training, it was a leadership training we were in, basically. And it was really deep. And I've been in a training before. And in that training, they had this thing where basically you had some ground rules. And one of those ground rules is keep your agreements. And one of those was be on time. So that was like a punctual thing, and I was great at that. And then fast forward to a year later, I was one of the people staffing that program. In fact, I was the captain of the team running the volunteers to run that program. And we agreed to the same ground rules, same guidelines, same agreements. So keeping our word was one of those, and being on time was another one. And the event was spread over 3 weekends, 1 weekend each month with in between meetings. the second weekend showed up on the Friday, and I was late to my team meeting, not to the class, but to the team meeting that was done before that. And I knew I was late. I couldn't ignore it, even though the team said, no, we'll keep going and pretend it didn't happen. We'll move on, because nobody else was there, just me and the team. And when the facilitator came in to meet us before the training started, I couldn't not say something. I said, just want to let you know, even though the team doesn't agree with me, I need to tell you that I was late for the meeting. And it's like, I call myself out on it. But the thing was interesting, because he said, well, the rules are that if you're late, you're out of the training. But because you run the team, you have to be involved in the training. So you're going to be out during the week, the sessions. You'll be out in the hallway, but you'll be in on the breaks to do what you need to do. And I was like, okay, it wasn't what I want. I think I need to be totally away from the building, couldn't do anything sort of thing. But I ended up being involved outside the room, periphery sort of thing. But it was an interesting journey, because that was the middle weekend. So I had 2 weekends plus there was weekly meetings in between, that I basically had to do what I need to do in the room and then leave before training started and then come back after it ended, sort of thing. To say it was a powerful lesson is an understatement. It made it absolutely implicit for me. And yes, I haven't been perfectly on time ever since, but I always make sure I communicate, like you were saying about, if you're going to be late, communicate. If I'm not going to be on time, I can feel myself cringing if I don't communicate ahead of time. Like, it's in me, like it's visceral for me. I must make sure they know that I'm going to be on time or I'm going to be late either way, so they know what to do, because they're not going to be trustworthy. And so keeping their word has a visceral feeling for me in a lot of ways. That if I say something, I'm going to do it. And if I'm not going to do something, I'll just say I'm not going to do it, so people know where I stand. Because there's something for me about integrity for me that is, if I am integrity, if I'm integrity in my word, I keep my word and say the truth, then people know where they stand with me. And ideally, I have that with other people, so I know where to stand with them. And that's fundamental for healthy relationships of any sort. Again, business relationships, personal, intimate, all those relationships.
Oh boy, don't we learn those lessons? And it's really good if we really do learn it and don't do it again. And that it caused such a visceral reaction in you too, that you really went, yeah, I can't do this again. I remember having a longtime friend who, the way that they looked at it is, they weren't late yet, even though they knew they were going to be late, but they weren't late yet. And I said, oh, that just gives me a headache. It just really gives me a headache. Yeah. So the other part is, because I would love to have you have somebody that you can count on them giving you a different point of view or disagreeing with you, because boy, that sure keeps us on our toes too. What we women will do is we will ask a man a question, and then he'll think about it and he'll answer it. And then if we don't like it, we will just start telling them they're wrong. It's not that I disagree with it, is that your opinion, because it's different than mine, is wrong. And we do teach men to lie, because they really do you guys want to please us. You want to make us happy. You don't want us unhappy with you all the time. So if we keep being displeased with everything, so many things that you say, and we're pretty adamant about it, then why would you tell us the truth? And that is really sad, because being trusted is such high value to men, and us trusting you is very high value to us. And women often, by doing it this way, will make you not keep your word, but it hurts you and upsets you not to, but it seems like the lesser of the two evils. And you don't really want to hang out with us as much when that happens either, I think.
No.
In one word.
In one word, yeah. It is one of the challenges of being in the male body, to be honest, that women aren't as easy to work out, understand, or to relate to as men are. It's just the way it is. But it's also the entertainment and the fun factor of that, and the excitement of that, of not knowing. But it's an interesting dance to be in that dichotomy of the two things. It's like we want predictability and ease, but then we're with women who aren't that. So it makes it for entertaining. And frankly, that's probably one of the reasons why relationships do work, because it keeps us on our toes and keeps us in the moment, for want of a better word. Yeah.
Oh, it's been such an interesting journey dating again, because it's interesting to see how long it takes. And I don't take it personally at all, how much a man has been lied to or not told the exact truth or been confronted so much, how long it takes them to learn that what I'm saying, I really mean. So I get questions like, well, how do you know that? And they really do want to know, how do I know that? How did I know that person really, that happened to them? and I go, oh, they want evidence. I can give evidence because I'm not going to say it without evidence. But I want to see, does it take 2 times? Does it take 10 times? It's really been interesting. And I just think it isn't me. It's whoever they've been with before, that they've learned that when they'll say, well, how do you know? They'll go, well, maybe, and kind of, sort of, and they get all wishy-washy about it. So it's made me be even more clear when I say, I know this, or I will say, I thought about, or I kind of heard, or I was thinking, and what do you think? I'd love to hear your opinion. And I can stand on this is what I really know and I have evidence for. But I have to tell you, being married, to one person for a little while before he died, we already had that great rhythm. But boy, meeting so many new people. And then also my clients, my male clients especially, learn to trust me pretty fast, but they do have to do some of that testing in the beginning too, because they've had enough women who we just don't understand how vital it is for both sides for us to figure out what our word is and keep it.
Yeah.
Consistent, be so consistent.
For me, that's the experience I have with, because I work mostly with women, that for me, just telling them that I'm a safe place for them to be, that I can hold space for them, doesn't do anything until they can experience it and go, oh, I can trust that. And it's something that my friends know, especially, friends, because they're just running each other's lives all the time, but even some prospective clients who lean in to quote, test drive me, start taking a glimpse of that, and it feels great. But the challenge is that it can't be talked about in a way that says, believe me, this works, so you trust, it's like that. Someone like they got to test drive it first to know. And so it is something that has to be earned in a way. And I understand entirely why, but at the same time, I wish it was easier. Yeah.
It is a challenge in our business and lots of businesses of people that, have an intimate personal relationship with people who are sharing their feelings. And one of the things I tell people that I'm working with, I said, you will learn. You just have to, I'm going to tell you right now, I am always going to tell you the truth. I am never going to bullshit you ever. There'd be no point. And I'm going to tell you it in the nicest way possible because it's how I like receiving information. And I have a couple people that have come back and go, right, you have to be tougher. Okay, I can be tough. It's not my go-to. I can be tough. I'll channel my sister. I lived with her. I know how to do that. But they like hearing, and then they learn very quickly that what I say, they go, yep, she really meant that. Yep, that's really good advice. Yep, she's given me feedback that, might have been a little hard-nosed, but it was the truth. And the other thing that is so fascinating is getting them to believe when I say something nice about them. If they haven't had enough of that in their life, they're like, oh, no. And I go, that's when I have to say it again. It's okay that you don't believe me. I don't take it personally at all. I'm just telling you, I will never say something positive or negative that isn't my truth for you, because what would be the point? You're paying me for truth. But I watched your face too, because I'm sure you must run into that. Oh no, you don't mean that, because nobody ever says that, or the people that were important to my life said the opposite.
We can do the whole second part of the show on that, frankly. Before we do that, let's do a real wrap up before the commercial break, and then we'll come back to this, because I have some points to bring on that one, definitely.
I think it's a really important subject. So, oh boy, if this is landed with who you are or who you keep meeting, and you would really like to have this better, you would like to be able to keep your word or have the other person keep their word, and you be trusted and them be trusted, Barry and I would be so happy to talk to you about that, because we've lived it ourselves and we've coached it for a very long time. So if you'd like to talk to me, please go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the page and click on the What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. Once you've answered just a couple of questions, you'll have access to my online calendar. You can schedule a complimentary conversation with me. You can also send me a personal email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how would people reach you, Barry?
In a similar fashion, you go to my website, which is my name, barryselby.com. And on top of the page, there's 3 things on the page I'll tell you about later on, but the top of the page is a way to go to my calendar. Basically, click on the Let's Chat button, and it takes to my calendar where you schedule time up with me. And also you can fill out the questionnaire that's there, because frankly, I want to get to know who you are before we talk, so I can give you more help and more guidance. We schedule a Zoom chat, and we do it over the phone if we need to. The Zoom's preferable because I can see you and get to connect with you more deeply. And we can tell, where you are, what you're looking for, and if I can help you get there. That's very simple. There's no commitment, there's no requirement, there's no investment. It's just your time. Easy. If you want to send me an email, you can send me one at barry@selby.com, and we'll talk about the rest of the stuff at the end of the show.
So we're going to take a short break for our wonderful new streamingnetwork.com, who puts out our podcasts and our episodes. And we'll be right back to talk more about, can you keep your word and be trusted? This Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry.
See you in a moment.
Hi there. We're back with Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry, and we're talking about, do you keep your word? Can you be trusted? Because you really need to start out with you. And then, are you finding yourself surrounded by friends and family and potential romantic people that they keep their word and can be trusted? And so we're going to talk about, we keep talking about how to get it solidified in you, and then how to only have those kinds of people in your life. Because if you're going to keep your word, then you want other people to be able to keep their word as well. But we started out talking about, can you really believe it, huh, Barry?
Yeah, that's the thing is, it's interesting how we're wired, because for some of us, it's much easier for us to believe if somebody tells us bad things than somebody tells us good things. So meaning somebody criticizes what we're doing, we'll take that as being gospel. But if somebody praises us and prizes us for something really good we've done, we'll like shed it off like it's not really us. Like, no, you don't know me that way. You that sort of thing. And I know for myself, I had that pattern, because I remember having such a sense of being humble, almost like I had to, no choice when I was younger. So that belief that I was deserving of compliments was very elusive for me. And so understanding that it's okay to be told good things about ourselves, because the thing is also, it's funny because people who say, no, that's no problem and take it on easily because they've got big egos are problematic because they've got big egos, And so it's really that for most of us, taking praise from people, we don't trust it. We think that, they may be blowing smoke up our butt, something other things. Like the truth is, if somebody's saying something nice to us, first of all, is there an agenda attached? Because that's the other thing you got to watch for. People sometimes will compliment you so they get something from you or give you some idea, because that's the way how marketing and sales works. But if you really are clean with how you receive it, you can say the compliment without the baggage is tied to it. But it is interesting how we've got so much history that ties compliments with negative things. And it seems, so how do we separate them,
Oh my goodness, that's so important. And so depending on how you were raised and whether or not they really gave you praise and love, you felt loved and you heard that you were loved, or you just couldn't accept it, because there's some people that grew up in perfectly lovely families and for some reason it just didn't get in. That, what are you going to take as serious? What are you going to take as the truth? Because I hear people that when I coach them, that some of their lives were awful and some of them not so bad. But even though they've had really nice people in their life who have tried to tell them good things, they still have trouble believing it. So can you trust yourself to believe that you are a good person, that you deserve somebody that could keep their word, that you could deserve somebody that would be trustworthy? Because I wrote it down and then I didn't bring it. I heard it that this man said that I'm going to say it wrong, but whatever you expect is what you'll see. That if you're expecting people not to be trustworthy, the world's full of not trustworthy people, really, and a misunderstanding too. So you're going to notice that, where if you're looking for more positive things, you're probably going to see more positive things, which is been most of my life. It's not that I don't see the negative things and I'm not aware of them. I am not blind to them, but I seek out, when is somebody really being good? When is somebody trying their best? When is somebody not trying to do me in, even if they're having a bad day? I bought a new car for me. It's new to me, it's not a new car. And I've had to have this stuff fixed after the fact. And I went through 2 separate people, 2 trips back, who were so unhelpful. And I just learned they can't be helpful. But the third person I found couldn't have been more helpful. Was all about, yeah, we want you to be happy. And, oh, everything you're saying is reasonable, because I knew what I was asking for is reasonable. And because the other person didn't agree, I said, well, I'm moving on and I'm going to find the person that agrees. And I did. I found a person that agreed because I knew it was reasonable. So that part I trust myself to always know, am I really just asking for something too much, or is this really reasonable? So when I expect that, I don't expect it from everybody. I really don't, but I expect to find it. And so I just keep looking for that. So if you look for yourself of how you're going to keep your word and how you can be trusted, then you're going to look for somebody else. Just keep looking for the people that keep their word and can be trusted. Don't just blow off everybody. And that was the thing I had to learn when I said, oh, the things that people say nice to me really are the truth. I went through that in my up through my 20s. That was me. I didn't believe it.
One of the things one of the quotes I remember that you triggered for me, which was basically was, do you believe what you see, or do you see what you believe? Because that's the challenge we fall into, is that, yes, the natural evidence of what's around us in reality, we can believe it or not. Or we're basically in a place where we believe so hard in what we think is the truth, we won't see anything except that out in the world. And definitely when it comes to trusting people and finding stuff, if you are someone who basically doesn't trust anybody, you're going to find people out in the world who are not trustworthy. That's the simple way it works, is you basically see what you believe. Whereas if you simply say, I'll meet people where they are, some will be trustworthy, some won't be, and you'll see what's true. So in a way, you almost got to self-interrogate. What is your belief system? What are you tied into? What is it you think about when you say, okay, what's trustworthy mean to me? And who around me do I trust? And yes, you do have to be selective, because you've got to find people you can trust, as we said it earlier. But also just be noticing, if you can't trust anybody, then maybe something to reflect on yourself.
And conversely, you can't just blindly trust everybody, because I did that. Well, I'm going to be nice, so they'll be just as nice to me. And I spent kind of a miserable 20s thinking that. And when I got to my 30s, I had so much more discretion at my disposal, because I knew my instincts knew. So I started trusting my instincts so that I could then keep my word to myself of, I'm going to pick, I'm going to watch, and I'm going to ask, and I'm going to see, and do they live up? Does what they say match what they do? The other thing I've learned with the Myers-Briggs is the S and the N's. That really is part of their dividing thing. That one of them is, I'll see it, but when I believe it, and the other one is, I'll believe it when I see it. That they're more I have to touch it first, which is me. And the both of I just know it in my head intuitively. The N people and the S people are, I'm fine hearing it, and I'm fine hearing it in my head, but I really, the extra piece has to be there for me to see it. I really am that.
Yeah, well, I'm an N, so I know the other side of it.
I'm such an S, and you're such an N. See?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, the thing is, it is the thing. Just to go for slightly on a tangent with that, is that the intuitive level, which is what the N is, has really still be good in good stead. Where basically I can sense with certain people that they present as trustworthy, but my radar says no, there's something off about them. And if I wait long enough and I don't put too much investment in that relationship, at some point down the road, I'll start seeing their true behavior show up. Because some people out there are really good at presenting something that isn't who they really are. And you don't find out until 6 months down the road. Some people in relationships know this one experience personally, where the person they met up front isn't who they end up being with 6 months down the road. So having that internal radar, the intuition, for me has been a godsend, frankly, where I've had the radar warn me and guide me out of situations and relationships, not romantic ones, just relationships in general, where I know that I didn't want to trust them. Like you were saying with the car people, it isn't easy necessarily, but when you start developing that sense of intuition, you can see with certain people, if you can say this person will work with me and they can support me and I trust them, I spend money with them. Or somebody who I go, they're just in it just to do the work, they don't care about the cars, they don't care about me, I'm not interested in them. But it's that sensitivity that you got to want to develop so you can really be wise in your use of your investment of your time and effort and money.
Mm-hmm. Very wise. And it's so important to really listen to your intuition, because your instincts just know, they always know. And I am so clear that they always know. And then I really do like testing, and I like just making sure and really listening and watching the actions. It's kind of a fun little game that I play in my head. And it really works out well. And it's one of the things I do with my clients, that I'll say this, and I'll show you that I'm going to keep that word. And then I'm going to see if you say that you're going to do this, come back and either say, you get two things to say. I did it, and this is how it worked, or it turned out I couldn't do it. Because I tell people you can learn even more when something comes up and you go, I can't do that. Well, that's a resistance you didn't even know was there. And how amazing to now uncover it and go, well, this is what's been getting in the way a lot of the time. And it was covered up by a bunch of stuff. So go try it. And if it doesn't work, sometimes, yay. Like, oh, now we have this to work on first. And then you won't even have to do that part. We'll go do something else. But now we have this big thing that you didn't even know was there, was in your face. I see you nodding because we have these kinds of experiences with our clients all the time.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah, it's something that, well, the thing is, it's like, I was talking to a fellow coach yesterday about this, is that we can help everybody, but not everybody wants to be helped.
That's true.
And if that discernment and understanding that makes us clear about the work we do absolutely has to be with those people who are receptive, willing to do the work. And they need to be able to trust us as their support, their guide, their coach. But we've got to trust them to do the work as their client. And so it's a two-way relationship, absolutely. And it's good practice, basically, when you're in that sort of relationship, to practice when you go into a romantic relationship, because the same level of trust needs to be established on both sides. So absolutely learning how to do that. Well, I'll say there's no shame in it, but I know I talked about this is basically in the past. I remember doing some classes where I was sometimes, I was going to say fumble, but the truth is I cheat the homework, that I would do the homework and do okay. But it's like, part of me felt like I didn't do it justice. And the truth is, it doesn't matter ultimately what the teacher thinks. It's what I feel inside for what I did or didn't do correctly. And that's the reminder I keep getting. The lesson that always comes up is ultimately in this life, and this is one of these big picture ideas, is that going through life, we're the ones that are really going to find ourselves accountable to ourselves. We may be absolutely fooling everybody around us because we look right, we got it right, we're talking right, we're being perfect, and everything seems to be good. But if we're not honoring the truth inside of ourselves and being trustworthy in who we are, we're going to pay the price ultimately, emotionally and everything else. So it's worth thinking about, how do we relate to ourselves, the one in the mirror, almost more importantly than the relationships out in the world, because the ones out in the world can be fooled, frankly.
Yeah.
And it has to be. Sorry, after you.
Sorry, you froze. I thought you were done. So keeping your word to yourself, learning how to do that, how to honor. When you put something on the calendar, if you're going to change it, have a really good reason and change it. Don't just slide over it.
Right.
I'm very calendar driven, so I really am diligent about that, so that you can learn that you trust yourself to go, that's really not a good time for me to do that. It's okay to move it, consciously move it, so that now you're keeping your word that you're going to now do it another time, or you've decided you're not doing it at all. And you trust that you're going to listen to yourself and go, I would have been my best person then. I really need to stay home and do this instead, or go out and put my feet in the grass. I can't do the big thing I was going to do. I'm going to postpone it till tomorrow. So it really does start with yourself. We started the conversation talking about do it with yourself. And I think now that we're getting close to the end, it's really good to bring it full circle, that keeping your word to yourself and trusting yourself is the best foundation you can have to form any kind of a relationship with somebody else, so that you're going to know what keeping your word and being trustworthy is, as you'll recognize it in another person, because you're already the example.
Absolutely. And it's an interesting dance, because this can be done anywhere and any time in our daily life, no matter where it is. So if you're not in a relationship, think about saving this up when you're in a relationship. You can do this when you go to the grocery store, or you go to the DMV, or you go somewhere else. Like, you can practice this skill, keeping your word and being honest. Because we didn't talk about honesty. I'll say that in a moment. Can you keep your word in every interaction you have? Not to say yes to everything, because being no is communication as well as keeping your word. Because sometimes keeping your word, and I talk about it in my work, and something I learned from one of my coaches when I'm working with clients, when I was talking about my work and want to work with me, my focus is to have one of two results: a clear yes or a clear no. Yeah. Anything in between is wishy-washy, doesn't work. So the reality is, if you say no or you say yes, it's honorable, because it keeps the word and it's trustworthy. So it's important to understand that that's the way we work. And I'll speak to honesty for a moment. Honesty is one of those interesting things, because keeping our word is ideally being honest and being truthful. And we can do a whole show on truth and honesty. They're two different things. But the thing about honesty is something that is flexible, meaning, and it means very specifically, that in the Latin origin for honesty, it basically comes down to being one with what is. And so being honest about something is to be aligned to what it is, but it is in that moment, meaning that in 5 minutes' time, it might be different. So your honesty doesn't necessarily tie for permanency. So you can say, you're being honest about this. But if you find out more information in 5 minutes time, your viewpoint's going to change. So the honesty shifts to something else. So same as this, we're keeping your word, is that your word is true in the moment, which like you were saying earlier about canceling appointments and rescheduling. You know, you're going to make an appointment on Wednesday at 2:00, but if you not suddenly find out on Tuesday you're not going to be able to make it, communicate so you can change it. Don't just ignore it.
Yeah, one of the things I learned that the Buddhist people say is be where your feet are. So if you're always in touch with where am I today? What can I do today? Where's my capacity? And you're honest with yourself first, you know you can trust yourself, and you keep your word to yourself, and then you keep your word to other people. What I found is even if they're not completely happy with whatever it is you're changing, most people will honor, wow, at least they didn't want to come and be a crab, or they really knew that they were overextended. And I have found that for me and for my clients, I said, we're just a good example for the other people, because I'm a recovered one of those try to please everybody all the time when I was in my 20s. And I took an oath to stop doing that. It wasn't working for me. So now that I am better at that, I find that most people are really like, oh, it's so refreshing to have somebody really tell me like it is, even if I'd rather it be different. It really is nice to get that kind of feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
You thanks. And you too. So,
yes,
gosh, I'm hoping that this has just stirred up all sorts of thoughts for so many people that have been watching or listening, because if not now, when, right? Isn't that a good saying? Yeah.
Yes.
If we wanted things to be better, let's make some differences now. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to help you. And I'll send you to my website, because it's got all sorts of ways that you can get free things and talk to me. So the best way to talk to me through my website is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the page, and there's a what's holding you back from love questionnaire. And it could be just loving yourself more. And the questionnaire is brief questions that give you a chance to say, this is where I am, and gosh, this is where I'd like to be. And that way I have some information before we talk. And then we have a wonderful conversation together to see, is there a way that I can better serve you with a longer conversation than this? I promise you we'll leave with something that's helpful every time. And then once you've finished the questionnaire, you then schedule that conversation with me through my online calendar, and it's complimentary. There's no obligation, just happy to chat with you. You can also send me an email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. If you go to the top of my website, it has an ebook that's a compilation of the 10 years that I did a dating advice column. It was really fun. And it's got chapters and chapters with all sorts of interesting subjects. And people have liked that it's one of those kind of books you just open it up and, oh, yeah, that chapter fits me. And I think that's really fun. That's kind of feedback I've been getting. You can also join my mailing list, which will give you this podcast live in your mailbox every week, and also tell you about my class, my ladies Transform Your Dating Life class that's starting next week. Also, you can click on all my social media at the bottom, which is Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. And if you click on YouTube, you'll get to watch Barry and I for over 170 episodes, giving you a chance. Sorry? 270. Oh my gosh, where did I get 100? 200. We've hard fought those 270. Over 270 episodes of us giving you some really helpful, interesting weekly advice. And people are binging. It's really exciting. Yep. So Barry, tell them how to reach you.
So similar to Christina, I have a few things you can definitely check out. My site, again, is barryselby.com. At the top of the screen, you can get on my calendar by clicking on the chat button, and you fill out the questionnaire and get on my calendar. Easy, 20-minute conversation between me and you. At the bottom of the homepage is an opt-in to my email list. It basically send out an email every week with a replay of the show, plus things I'm working on as well. So you can spread both of us. We both have things we're working on, but you also get the replay of the show both places. If you want to go a little bit deeper, in the middle of the homepage on my website is the first of my 2 assessments, the quiz. And the first quiz is basically your relationship readiness assessment. And you can go to barryselby.com/quiz if you want to get there by the link directly. And basically it gives you questions on, are you ready for a relationship, on different levels and different questions. So fill that out. You'll get an email from me explaining where you are and the results of that test or the assessment. If you want to go deeper, especially because of what we talked about in this episode about having a chance to keep your word and be trusted, I have the self-relationship assessment, and that's not actually on my site yet. It's going to be added later, but right now you go to barryselby.com/self-quiz, and that is a much deeper self-assessment. It covers 7 areas of your relationship with yourself, the one in the mirror, and gives you lots of things to think about. And in fact, when you do fill it out, you'll get sent a PDF document or download for a PDF document. There's lots of tips, guidance, and assessments you can use in your life and your navigation. So frankly, I'd do both if I were you. Want to be ready for a relationship, and are you in relationship readiness yourself, and everything goes with it. addition to those on my book, I have a book on my page as well. A book on my site on the book page, which is barryselby.com/book, or it's in the navigation. And that book is 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. It's been out for 13 years now. You can find it on Amazon. It's also in some local bookstores if you're in LA. But if you want to find out more about it, you can listen to the audio review of my book done by AI-generated voices that sound like fairly good book critics. So there's a little audio track at the top of the page you can click on and listen to. It's like 13, 14 minutes. And these people are very wise, very astute, and they like my book. So that's a good way of promoting it. So that's another option you can do it too. If you want to send me an email, you can send me one at barry@barryselby.com. And if you want to find me on social media, my name, Barry Selby, is on most of my social media platform handles. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter. Sorry, not Twitter anymore. On Blue Sky and on YouTube, where I also have all these shows in replay form as well, plus another 1,000+ videos out there on my YouTube channel as well. Lots of things you can listen to and watch there. And you can find me on Instagram and Threads under the real Barry Selby. But everything else is just Barry Selby, easy to find.
And you can watch us live here every Thursday at 10 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern. And you could ask us questions. We're happy to answer them online. And if you want to watch our repeats, you can also watch them on YouTube or Roku. But you could just take us and listen to us, right, Barry?
Absolutely. The show not only is a video interview and video conversation, it's also done as a podcast. So if you like listening to us when you're out about the world, but you can't watch a screen because you're driving or you walk around in public, please don't look at screens when you're walking around in public, please, for safety. But you can hear because our show's on the podcast platform. So you listen to podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts. You listen to all 270+ episodes of ours. Maybe not all at once, but you can certainly binge listen as you want to. And you can be a subscriber and like our shows, and definitely share it with your friends, because some shows you might discover the title is so provocative, you can't put it down. You want to share it with your friends. I'm not saying you have to, but you might. So listen to our show wherever you go. Enjoy it.
And like us and review us. We would love that. And please join us next week. We'll be back with another interesting subject that will hopefully help you in your dating and relationship life.
Look forward to seeing you then.
Bye for now.